Hello again, everybody. So glad to be back with you today. And it is Thursday, um, the 28th of January. I can't believe this month is over already, but here we are. So I see you guys have joined in. I've got a whole group of you, and you're chatting about yesterday, which is fantastic. I'm so glad you guys had a great time yesterday. It was so good to see a whole bunch of you and some new faces. I've seen some of you in the Altenew workshops that I've been doing, but it was great to see some of you guys that have just been here with me live and in person. It was really awesome. So I'm glad to see that you guys have finished some of your projects, and I see that Becca, you're starting over and you're doing some more work there, which is great. And Nancy, you're going to start over too. I'm sure your projects from yesterday were fantastic, but doing them again is always a chance at redemption, or a chance to apply something that you've already that you learned from doing the first ones, which is what I find when I do those kinds of workshops. I've already created the projects for you, like today, and to do them again, I always learn something a little bit new along the way, or I'm able to apply something that I learned the first time, and that always usually leads to better results, I think. So anyway, I'm Speedy, and you mean just that I'm here again doing another live? I feel like I'm going crazy because this is my third live in 2 days, and but that's it. And then I've got tomorrow and the weekend and into next week. So yeah, I felt like I just got off of a virtual workshop with Altenew that ended an hour ago, and we went over just a little bit, and I felt like I was kind of rushing a little bit at the end, but we had some things to cover, and we had a great time. The projects were fantastic. Everyone had a good time. There was some new people there, which was always fun. And yeah, it was really good Thursday. Okay, guys, so let's get into it because we've got a lot to do today. We're going to be doing some more watercoloring. We're using the Altenew Woodless watercolor pencils with the Floral Sprig, and we're going to do some no-line watercoloring. So let me pop over to our first announcements here. So the February stamp focus set, the Altenew Positive Vibes, that is a stamp set that we will be using all next month, starting next week. So get your hands on that if you don't have it already. I know a lot of you do, which is great. And that's why I picked it, because I thought, this was really popular. I bet lots of people have it. So pull it out, get familiar with it, get familiar with some of the layering. We're going to be doing all sorts of fun things with that. The Sketch Starter Challenge from January is now closed. I told you I was going to close that early because I wanted to kind of realign my gift certificates and things through Altenew. So we had 16 participants, so that was fantastic. And I decided to pull two winners from that because I had two gift certificates left from January. So I pulled two winners from that, and I will announce those next. So that new challenge will start on February 1st. I'll remind you guys when we're here next Thursday, because that'll already be up and live. And lastly, I'd just like to thank you guys all for supporting me by using my affiliate links. When you click on an affiliate link, it sets a cookie that says that you're shopping with me. And as long as you don't go anywhere else, to another stamper or crafter and click on any of their links, then I will get a small commission when you check out and you use that link. So it's at no additional cost to you, and I really do appreciate it. So that's why I'm always posting all of the products that I'm using and links to get those. Those are affiliate links. So thank you guys so much for supporting me with that. That allows me to do giveaways and all those other kinds of things, and to provide you this content for free. All right, so that's my public service announcement for today. Let's move on to some winners. I know I'm talking fast because I want to get to the crafting. Okay, so winners. Our February stamp focus virtual class winners are Joni and Becca. Joni was the grand prize winner, so she got the stamp and die set, which she already had, so I gave her the opportunity to pick something else, and she chose, she didn't have the metallic watercolors, which we'll be using for the virtual class, so she's going to get those, which is awesome. And then Becca got the free class. So yay to you, ladies. I'm so glad that you joined in on the giveaway and shared the information out to other crafters so that they can find out about the virtual workshops. All right, and our Sketch Starter Challenge. Sue, you did not win this month. But you encouraged a lot of other people to play along. And so we have 2 new winners, Beverly and Alyssa. Ladies, if you could please email me with the information below, I will ship off the information to Altenew and have you issued a $15 gift voucher to Altenew. So thank you for playing along, and I hope to see you guys all play along with the Sketch Starter Challenge again, starting on February 1st. Phew! That's it for the updates, guys. Yes. Oh, so the survey. Paula, do it again anyway. Because I'm doing I started it with the other giveaway, but I decided that I didn't get enough responses, so I wanted to continue it on. So I'm asking for people's email addresses for this one to do the giveaway. So if you want to be a part of the giveaway for a $15 gift certificate to Altenew, do it again. That's okay. If you duplicate your answers, that's fine. If you don't want to be a part of the giveaway and you've already done it, then thank you for completing the survey. I do appreciate it. All right. So, all right, we've got all sorts of people joining in. Sue, play again next month and maybe you'll win again. All right. So let's move on to the split here. Okay, so Positive Vibes. This is our stamp set for February. It is a wonderful layering stamp set. So if you're not familiar with layering stamps, this is a great one to get because I'll be walking you through this one all month. All right, and it has just the single die for the flower. All right. Oh, how do you use the affiliate links? Oh, you know what? Hang on a second. I'm going to pause this. It says I am not getting good streaming, so give me a minute here. Okay, something is going on. Now, guys, it is on my end. I'm looping a little bit here. Give me a minute. Let me check some settings. Our internet appears to be doing funny things. Okay. Yeah, my stream status is not good, guys. So give me a minute here. Let me... If it's not one thing, it's another. Yeah, it shouldn't be. There shouldn't be any problems, but there apparently are. I want to see what is... I want to make sure that I'm not on my Wi-Fi for some reason. Okay, I think I might be okay now. Nope, it says it's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, which means I'm not uploading fast enough. Oh. Okay, let's see if we're working now. Nope, it does not like me. Well, my stream connection says that it is doing fine. And I don't know if I'm buffering still. Let's press on and see if we're okay. All right. So let's just move on, shall we? There we go. It says I'm in good condition now. So we're going to press on. Okay, so today is the last project for our floral sprig, and we're going to do no line watercoloring. So hopefully we don't buffer anymore because I know you guys want to see this. All right, is this, and it's gorgeous. It is so simple. I kept it simple because I just wanted this to be the beautiful focal point. All right, so let's move on. So I'm just trying to watch your comments. Yeah, it looks like I'm in good position now. I'm watching my stream and it says I'm in excellent condition. So I think we're okay. Fingers crossed, guys, that we don't have any other issues. All right. So we're going to use the Floral Sprig and I'm going to stamp it twice. And we're going to do some watercoloring and then we're going to do some die cutting. And that's it. Okay, so the watercoloring is the big thing here. All right, I'm going to pop in. And I can't remember. I might need to grab my... No, I can do it. Okay. So, listen. This needs to kind of go in the center. I'm going to grab the die that I'm going to use. This is the Nesting Frames die set from Altenew. So I'm going to grab that die, and I know it's going to go right here. All right, so where should my flower go? I can do my first flower. I guess I did it kind of like this, and it gets cut off. And that's okay, because then what happens is when you put it all together, it ends up being in the right place. So let's do that. Oh, you know what? I do need my... Oh, I got a little off there with the whole... Let's try this one. This will work better. So again, I'm going to pop that in place. And pop my flower. All right. I should not have done that, because now it's like, hey, look, it's a magnet. There we go. All right, so a little tricky there. But once I have that picked up the first time, I don't need to bother with this now. All right, so I'm going to stamp this in limestone because I'm going to do some no-line watercoloring here. I'm going to stamp this a little bit darker so that way you guys can see it. Okay. So there it is on there the first time. Got it? And I'm not going to bother with masking because this line is going to be hidden. You're not going to see it. So let's pop the second one like here. It's good. I just want to make sure. So let me zoom in here so you can see what's going on. And you can see, there you go. So now you can really see what that no line looks like. And you can see that I've got like this jumble going on here because I didn't bother with the masking. You're not going to see that once it's painted. So that is not a big deal. So then this is going to come in here and cut like that. All right, good to go. Let's paint. All right. So I have my Woodless watercolor pencils. There's 24 pencils in here. And I'll show you. Here's all the colors. All right, and so I pulled out ruby red, rubellite, lavender, and ultramarine. So I'm going to use those on the flowers. And then for the leaves, I pulled out Shadow Creek, Oolong Tea, and Moss. All right. The rest of them can stay in the container. I like that it's this cute little round container. All right. And for these, I actually like using the watercolor brushes. And I need to grab my... Okay. So here's the fun thing. We can do all of the coloring first and then add in the water later. So I'm actually, let me sharpen these. I'm going to just sharpen these with a regular pencil sharpener or an electric pencil sharpener, which is what I'm going to do. So, now, if you're smart and you have the time and you're using like an electric sharpener, yep, you can grab the shavings from this and use it to paint with. All right. So that's just a little tip if you want to be frugal and use every little bit of these. Okay, so look, I've got this piece here, and all I'm going to do is just start coloring with my pencils very lightly. And I sharpen these so I could get into these little tiny spots. Okay, so this was the ruby red, and actually, I'm just going to color through each one. So you can take your project in steps like this if you like. Right, and you can see I'm not doing a lot of color. I'm not putting it everywhere because this is pretty intense. And let's see, how does this go? So this one is actually going to go over the top. So see here, I'm starting to cover up where the two overlap. All right, so okay, so that is the ruby red. And then I've got some other colors in here like rubellite. I'll put a little bit in here, not much. Oh, you know what? I do want to do this the other way around. Okay, so here's... Just going to grab an eraser. Fortunately, I'm going to do these with the same color, so I just need to erase kind of how they're going. All right, and then again, I can come in with my lavender fields, get a little purple towards the bottom. I do want to get purple towards the bottoms of each of these little back petals too, because there's shadows back there. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the ultramarine yet. Okay, so I'm just going to start with my water brush. I don't know why, but I like to use water brushes with this. Yes, so Miss Tam, this is on watercolor paper. The paper that I'm using is hot press watercolor paper, so it is super, super smooth. Okay, you can use it on any kind of watercolor paper, but I just chose to use the hot press so that I could have like a really smooth finish. Yeah, Nancy, that's kind of what I keep thinking is like, oh, I'd really like to catch these pencil shavings, but I don't know what I'll do with them. Okay, so now this is the time where you really need to kind of pay attention to where your brush is going. Now this is one method for coloring these in, to kind of batch it up and do it all at once. The disadvantage to doing this is that you might lose your pencil lines at first and not really know where all of your individual petals are. But as you add your water in, you should start to see those lines kind of show through just a little bit. All right, so I have to clean off my brush. I've got my towel here. I'm in between, because if I want to start up here at the red and move down into the purple to activate. But now this has got purple on it. So if I bring it back up, then it's going to just kind of make that whole petal purple. So again, I wipe off my brush, come back in and just activate this little bit and then bring it in. So that is the start to our first flower. Oh yeah, that's a good idea, Miss Tam, to just save them in some empty pans. I think the reason why I like using the water brush with these is because the flow of water can continue, right? So yeah, Paula, and that's not a stupid question. So if you press, you're going to get like a bubble of water, which sometimes you want. But in this case, it's really, I'm not really pressing, just the motion and everything just kind of helps to keep the water, the tip moist. And I think that's why I like to use the water brushes with the pencils, because the tip is always a little damp and it allows that pigment to melt versus having to like keep dipping it into a container of water to get the brush wet again. All right, so these are actually in progress. They're not done yet. I have much more detail going on in the final version, so we'll take a look at how we get more detail in these after you lay down the first bit of color. All right. Yeah, so watercolors usually, I mean, they're a dye of some sort. So yeah, they definitely stain your stamps, which we saw yesterday for sure. All right, so almost done with these guys, and then I'll come back and show you how to do some detail with these. Okay, and I know I've mentioned this before, but it's worth saying again. I have used watercolor pencils in the past and not liked it. I think it's because they are, because they've got the wood around them, and a lot of times the pencil is really hard. These are much softer, and I think they work really well laying down color and blending out instead of just kind of being granular. They're really good quality. Okay, so it's time to get some detail in these. This top one, see, look, it's dry. All right, so what I'm going to do, we talked about this in the virtual workshop yesterday, a little bit of additive and subtractive coloring, right? So I'm going to bring in that ultramarine pencil, and I'm probably going to bring in the ruby red. Okay, so this is a different technique. I'm going to go right on the pencil and grab some of that color. All right, and I'm going to go right up against those lines to start giving this some more definition. And that's when having a really fine tipped water brush like this is helpful, because you want to make a really small, thin line. Okay. All right, and then I can do the same thing with the, I'm going to do this with the ultramarine instead of the purple. So now I can see those lines because I, you know, all of that pigment has melted together. Okay, so this is kind of the second step to the detail. All right, so now I have that in place. You can see there's some more fine lines there. All right, but now the third part is actually kind of that subtractive slash pushing of the watercolor around. So a lot of watercolors have what we call staining properties, but they're also, like if you get them wet again, you can kind of move them around a little bit. And I find with these pencils that there is definitely a quality of being able to move them around. So what I'm doing, like for this petal in specific here, I'm starting on the inside, and this is just a clean brush. It doesn't have anything on it, just water. And I'm pushing out that color up against the edge of the petal line. And it's actually creating a hard line. And that's what I'm looking for to give this the final bit of detail. So again, coming up here and just pushing out that color. And I think it's something that you can see it kind of happening on the screen there. But when you experience it with your own pencils and water, and you're like, oh, I'm actually moving that line. You're like, oh, that's how I'm going to create that really detailed looking no line watercolor. This is the extra step that really makes the difference. So again, here, I'm just pushing that little bit of extra red that I put there and just bumping it up against that line that I can see. You might have to pull out your reading glasses. Yeah, so I did, Sue, I did a little bit of lavender fields and ultramarine. This is the ultramarine that I put around the edges here. So a combination of the both is really nice. And then even adding in some of the rubellite, because that's like a pink purple. So you can take as long as you want on this part of the process. The more you work it, ideally, the more detailed you're going to get. And you can see that sometimes I'm wiping off my brush. What I'm noticing is like I'm doing the subtractive part here. So I'm removing some of the color. And at some point you're just pushing the color around um, instead of actually removing it. So you need to wipe off your brush. Right. So let's take a look at the difference that we have here. So this one here obviously is one that just had some of the color applied. This one is the one that I took the time to add some extra around the edges and then do some subtractive and push that away. So I'm trying to do like a close-up here of that concept. So as I clean out this petal, it's kind of pushing that watercolor to the edge and leaving more of a hard line. Yeah, exactly. So it makes you seem like an artist, Teresa. You're so sweet. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's why this one looks the way that it does, because I took the time to come back in and do all of that pulling out of the paint and adding in some darker spots here to just make those really fine lines. All right, so that's the difference. So Sue, you might want to try it again because now you know a new secret. Okay, so let's move on to, so you don't always have to add extra first. Like this one has a lot of paint on it. So let's see how much we can actually move first before I start adding in. And remember, this petal or this little flower here is completely dry. So it will take just a little bit of water to get it to move. All right, so I'm not really seeing a lot of movement, so let's start adding in some color. So into the ruby red. And then again, this is the ultramarine. And now I can work the line. Yeah, that looks really good. All right. So, oh, you know what? I am going to pull in the rubellite too, because I feel like sometimes the ruby red is just a little too red. So let's do some rubellite back here. So this is definitely not a fast process, but the results can really be truly stunning. I mean, could you imagine if you did like a whole page of these and then, I mean, I wouldn't put it on a card. I would put it behind glass. This is also one of those kinds of projects where you don't want to rush it. So if you start doing it and you feel like you're getting tired of working on it, or you're just trying to speed through it, set it aside. This is definitely something that you can come back to. The watercolor that's already on the paper will reactivate. You're going to be adding some more in there to give it the detail anyway. So yeah, definitely set it aside, work on parts of it later. Take it at your own pace. And even when you think you're done, you can come back to it the next day and say, I'd like to put a little bit more here, or I'd like to do something a little different there. And you can still come back in and do that. I have a couple of other projects that I've been working on that you guys are going to see next month, that literally one of them I'm not even finished with, and I've already put like 7 hours into it. And the other one took me like 3 or 4 hours to do in 2 days. So yeah, I think there's something rewarding into putting in the time to create something extra special. Let's see. Ooh, Becca, how is the, I don't like cauliflower, so I'm not even going to pretend, but if you like it, I hope it's really good. I like Chipotle. Oh, Joni. um, Again, just time. And like I said, you can come back and work on it a little more. So if you aren't happy with a section of it, or a part of it, or all of it, set it aside. Come back to it next week or whatever. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach it, right? This technique, unlike some of the other techniques, requires very little water. You need to have a damp brush, but you don't want it to be dripping ever. Otherwise, you will lose control of what it is you're working on. I mean, I'm taking off just the littlest bit of color here, but I'm wiping it off every time. This is damp, and my brush is damp, but not soaking wet. I think that makes a difference too. Blame it on the paper. Yeah, you know what? You can. What paper are you using, Joni? If you're using something that has a lot of texture to it, that might make it a little more difficult. And you might not get this kind of look. This is hot press watercolor paper, so it's super, super smooth and very easy to work with, and it loves water. It's even more water loving than regular watercolor paper. All right, so 2 down, a couple more to go. It's already almost 5 o'clock. So I'm going to finish this one up here. I wasn't really thinking about it. I should have started this last week, but we also ran last week all the way to the end, so. Oh, there you go. Tim Holtz watercolor paper. I wonder, Becca, do you know if it's hot or cold press? So Teresa, the difference between hot or cold, I don't remember 100% off the top of my head. I always have to look it up. But hot press obviously is a hot process, and it does result in a smoother watercolor paper that it soaks up water even more than regular watercolor paper. So you know how most paper, it has like a tooth to it or a texture. So that is generally an attribute of cold press. Hot press is generally much smoother. And sometimes it feels a little spongy. This too is a little bit of a daunting image maybe to work on. It's got a lot of little teeny tiny nooks and crannies. So if you are struggling with it, pull out a different image that gives you a little bit more open space to work on pulling that color up to the line. The problem with a larger image though is that you kind of have to figure out like a lot more depth to it, otherwise it will look flat. So there's advantages and disadvantages to both using smaller images and larger images. All right, so good. Work out this bottom section here. And to be honest with you, when I started this project, I thought, oh, I was just going to die cut it out and then I wouldn't even have to worry about this little piece here. But then I decided that I wanted it all to be kind of one piece. So I had to reattack my plan. All right. If you find it easier to do the masking just so you have like clearer lines, then by all means do that. Because right now I don't have a clear idea of where I'm going with this. Actually, I'll just work on this side here. There, that's helping to give me some clarity. Let's see what I can do. So, Sue, how did Lilith, how did she do her watercolor pencils today? I'm looking at your comment about the Tim Holtz paper. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting that it's made in one place and then packaged in Taiwan. Oh, that's cool. How Lilith did the watercoloring on the black paper. All right. So I need to let this one sit for a little bit because it's gotten a little too wet. All right, so I'm going to let that be. And we'll take a look at some of these leaves. So I've got, this is Shadow Creek. I'm going to do one of these big leaves so I can show you. Same concept with this, additive and subtractive. So we're going to add in a whole bunch of Shadow Creek right up on the line. This is going to show you how it's different working with a larger image than it is with a smaller. All right, and then I've got moss. Okay, so I'm just going to start with those two. Okay, so I'm going to mix these together. And you can see I put that color right up against the line, and I did that on purpose because look, I have already got a really nice green line there. Now I don't have to worry about adding that in later. I can just blend my color through. Okay, so let's grab in some of that moss. That's going to give this that nice variegated look. I mean, a leaf isn't just one color. And you can see here that like I'm making these kind of circular motions, and that's just to help get the pencil to activate and then blend in together. Very scientific. All right, so that's a good start on that. I can add in a little bit more. When you take it off of the pencil like that, it's very much like working with a like a Copic marker, an alcohol marker, where you can just kind of flick a little bit and get that detail in there, and then blend it with the color. And I'm purposefully leaving this little bit in the center here a little lighter because that's where the light would be hitting it. All right, so I'm going to let that sit for a little bit. And I'm going to do this little bit here because we are already almost towards the top of the hour. So I don't empty them every time because generally I use them so much that usually they're empty by the time I'm done with them. I have a second one here just in case I run out on the first one. So yeah, I have a lot of them that are sitting dry in my bin. I've never had a problem with the molding because, like I said, I usually use them up with the water in them fast enough that I don't have a problem with that. All right, so really just going through, this is the other way to do it. So instead of coloring everything first and then going back and adding the water, this one I'm doing them individually. Oh yeah, you know the tips do discolor on these. It doesn't affect performance, so um, I don't mind using one that has a discolored tip or anything. The bristles, being these nylon-y bristles, are going to discolor depending on what colors you're using with it. So mine usually I'll end up looking like a kind of funky brown because they get dyed with a whole bunch of different colors after a time. Then you have matching brushes again. So we're all going to empty our brushes out after we're done here. All right, guys. So, yeah, distilled water definitely helps in some situations. What do I use distilled water? Oh, when I make my I take my leftover Tombow adhesive and I turn it into adhesive spray. I've used distilled water for that in the past, so that way it doesn't go bad. Yeah, I think so, Sue. I prefer this method to use to color first and then use the water brush to activate it. I know other people that prefer to go always straight from the pencil, and I'm thinking, does that defeat the point of having the pencil? Because you're never really using it on the paper. You may as well just have a pan set, right? Yeah, so Tombow spray. I take, Becca, I take my leftover Tombow. So like when these get empty, there's still a ton of Tombow in here. I fill it up about halfway with distilled water, shake it up really good, and put it in a spray container. And then I use that to spray the back of my stencils, and let it dry so that way they are tacky, like if you were to use pixie spray. So it's a non-aerosol version, and that works well for me because in the basement here I can't really spray. Even the pixie spray has too much of a smell. So yeah, something that I discovered when I was working on my Altenew Academy class, and I just shared that with them. A lot of people liked that little bit of advice, and I've been using it ever since. I really like it. It's a good way to use up that glue too. Yeah, I'm such a miser with that glue. Like I used to cut open the containers and then use a brush to paint the glue. So now I don't have to. I just turn it into spray. Okay, so this color is Oolong Tea. And I'm going to use it to get this vein here. And just a little bit of detail at the bottom there. Oh, yeah, thanks, Miss Tamp. I'm glad you liked that tip. I really like this color, Oolong Tea. We don't have it in any inks yet, but I'm sure we will. You can buy distilled water at the store in a gallon or whatever. We have a gallon of it that we've had forever. Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry about your watercolor tubes, but yeah, you cut them open and use them as dry pans, basically. Watercolor sticks. Okay, so I'm into the oolong tea right now, and this is a great color to add in some little detail spots, depth, and shadow. Yeah, I've had a gallon of distilled water in the house for a couple of years, like the same gallon. So I know it's not expensive, but it's just it really seems to go a long way. And it's nice to have around when you want something that isn't that's going to work for a tool like that, you know, keep things from getting moldy and what have you. All right, so again, I'm applying that oolong tea, and then I'm using a cleaned off brush here to push it to those edges. It gives it that nice detail, harder line. And like here, I'm going to grab that underneath because there would be a shadow there, right? And then there's a little vein in this leaf here. All right, so that's a little thick, but if I come back with my brush and just push it towards that line. There. All right. So you can see there's a lot more to go here. Lots and lots and lots of painting yet to go. And I kind of wish at this point I had done one up ahead of time or something so I could show you the rest of the process. So, but I think you kind of get it, right? The rest of putting this together is not so difficult. So you would just go ahead and die cut it with your frame. Any frame will do, right? So I just happen to have these from Altenew, but any kind of shape, decorative shape would be really nice. All right, so cut it out with that. Actually, I'll do it because I can come back and color this even after it's been die cut. All right, so I'm going to center this right on here. Grab some of my, yeah, pop that through my die cut machine. All right, so once that is cut, because I want to give you guys some tips on that too. All right. Huh. Oh, interesting. All this information about distilled water. Okay, so when I want to stamp my sentiment on here, I'm going to actually put this frame back into my MISTI. And then put my framed piece right inside of it. That way I've got a nice square corner here to be working from. And then I can pick out my sentiment. I think I'm going to make this into a birthday card because this will be a great birthday card. This is one that, you know, someone would keep this one for sure. All right. Why is that not stamping? Very interesting. Oh, yeah. I need to get some sticky notes that have that. Oh, there we go. Okay. So there we go. So now it's now I can pop that out and it's all nice and square in there. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to show you about the pencils. Yeah, it's the jet black. So this is the jet black pencil. And I'm gonna just color some on a little block here. So this is where your shavings would really come in handy. And get that going with some water. So now it's in a nice little puddle of black. A little splatter there. Wow, Teresa. Hugs to you for being so awesome. Okay. So the other thing then that I'm going to do is take this same die, not this die set, I should say. I'm going to grab one smaller and cut out a piece of fun foam. Okay. So I've got a piece of fun foam here now. Joni, I love splatter. Splatter's the best. Okay, so I'm going to take my piece here and some of my splatter's still wet, so I'm trying to be careful. Oh, come on. It shifted a little. There we go. Okay. So I've got my frame in place. And then for this guy, might regret this in a minute. We'll find out. So my fun foam, pop that on here so it's smaller, right? Which is good. I didn't want it to be sticking out on the edges or anything. I typically do that. So I did it this way because I don't like to have sagging pieces, especially when they're large like this. Oops. So it's not going to sag in the middle, which is nice. So I hate it when that happens. All right. So there you go. And that's it. I mean, it is a super easy way to make something a little dimensional, but super awesome looking. And I'm not worried about the watercoloring. I'll be able to finish it even with it on here. I'm confident that I will be able to finish that without any problem. The using the fun foam also gives you an opportunity to shift this just a little bit if you don't get it quite in the space. So that works out well. There it is. So there's my in progress one, and here's the finished one. So I truly love this. I don't know that I will ever send this to anybody because it is super, super beautiful. There you go. Let's see. One pencil is missing and you don't know which one. Okay, so I'm going to show you the list of them and then you can figure out which one you're missing. You can check this out. You can freeze the frame later and check it out. Okay, Becca? So those are all the colors that come with the watercolor pencils. All right. Okie dokie. That's it, guys. I am like totally spent. I couldn't do another minute of live. I am so glad that you guys had fun this month with this stamp set. I'm really looking forward to the Positive Vibes set. We're going to have a ton of fun with that one. I'm so glad that so many of you already have that set, and it's just going to be a really great time. So we are past 5 o'clock here, and I have some other things to do and dinner to make and blog posts to write and crafty things to create, all for you guys. Well, not the dinner, that's for me. Anyway, I hope you guys had a great week. It was so, like I said, it was so awesome to see you yesterday. I saw a few of you again today in the Altenew workshop, and then for you to be back here today. So I am so excited about this community that we continue to grow and build, and I'm glad to have you guys here. So I will see you again next week. New sketch starter challenge will be out on the 1st, but otherwise I will see you next week for our first week with the new stamp set, Positive Vibes. All right, guys. So until then, have some positive vibes and happy crafting. Bye.